Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're exploring one of the most powerful yet overlooked mental models discussed by Charlie Munger, the Lollapalooza Effect. This concept describes what happens when multiple cognitive biases act together, amplifying each other and leading to extreme behaviors, irrational decisions, and unexpected consequences. When just one bias affects our thinking, it can already lead to mistakes. But when several biases reinforce each other, they create a psychological storm that distorts reality, making people act in ways they wouldn't normally. Understanding this effect can help us recognize when we're being influenced by a combination of biases and make more rational decisions in investing, business, and life. One of the most famous examples of the Lollapalooza effect is financial bubbles. When social proof tendency, over-optimism, and loss aversion combine, they create an environment where people blindly follow the crowd, ignore warning signs, and refuse to accept losses until it's too late. The housing market crash of 2008 was a perfect example. Banks, investors, and homebuyers all convinced themselves that prices would keep rising indefinitely. The fear of missing out drove buyers to take on risky mortgages, and confirmation bias made them ignore warning signs. Loss aversion prevented them from cutting their losses when the market began to collapse, leading to one of the biggest financial disasters in history. Businesses often fall victim to the Lollapalooza effect when making strategic decisions. A great example is the downfall of General Electric under the leadership of Jeff Immelt. For years, GE had been seen as one of the most successful companies in the world. Immelt, influenced by overconfidence bias, believed he could expand GE aggressively into multiple industries. His optimism was reinforced by authority bias. Many investors and analysts blindly followed his decisions without questioning them. When the strategy started to fail, commitment bias made it difficult to reverse course, and social proof tendency caused other executives to continue supporting the flawed plan. The result was a massive decline in GE's stock price and reputation. In marketing and sales, companies used the Lollapalooza effect to influence consumer behavior. Apple's product launches are a perfect example. Apple carefully builds anticipation months before a product release, using scarcity bias by making limited quantities available at launch. They leverage social proof tendency by ensuring that celebrities and influencers are among the first to use their new devices. They use reciprocation tendency by offering exclusive deals or trade-in programs, making customers feel compelled to buy. The combination of these biases creates a buying frenzy where people line up overnight to spend thousands on a device they don't necessarily need, simply because multiple psychological forces are pushing them to act. The Lollapalooza effect also plays a huge role in political movements. Throughout history, leaders have used multiple biases to control public perception. For example, during the Prohibition era in the United States, a combination of authority bias, social proof tendency, and contrast bias convinced the public that banning alcohol was the solution to all social problems. Religious leaders and politicians framed the issue as a moral crusade, reinforcing authority bias. Peer pressure and social proof made people feel like they had to support the movement. Contrast bias exaggerated the negative effects of alcohol while downplaying the potential consequences of banning it. The result was a nationwide law that created an underground economy, empowered organized crime, and ultimately failed. In the world of sports, the Lollapalooza effect is often seen in extreme fan behavior. Take the soccer riots that sometimes break out after big matches. Passionate fans become caught up in social proof tendency, following the emotions of the crowd. Loss aversion makes them react aggressively when their team loses, as they feel deprived of a victory they expected. Authority bias comes into play when fan leaders or influencers encourage aggressive behavior. When all of these biases act together, even people who would never normally engage in violence can be swept up in the chaos. Understanding the Lollapalooza effect can help us make better decisions and avoid being manipulated by external forces. When you find yourself in a situation where emotions are high, crowds are moving in one direction, and critical thinking is being suppressed, it's time to step back. Ask yourself, what biases are at play? Are multiple factors influencing my decision without me realizing it? One of the best ways to counteract this effect is to slow down your decision-making process. When major choices involve money, reputation, or long-term consequences, taking a step back can prevent you from falling into a psychological trap. Charlie Munger once said, If you get multiple forces operating in the same direction, you get Lollapalooza effects, and they can cause extreme distortion of judgment. Recognizing when this is happening gives you a huge advantage in business, investing, and everyday life. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about cognitive biases and mental models, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. Thanks for watching, and until next time, think rationally, act wisely, and stay ahead of the crowd.